Hello, this is Kylie J.N.S. and today we are continuing with the Queen Mothership Enterprise Architecture, and we are on part 6. Now, remember that the Queen Mothership Enterprise Architecture is based on a 130-page blueprint that I created in a book for Black Americans, and it's based on building parallel infrastructures and apparatuses that lead to self-determination and self-efficiency, as well as autonomy for us, so that when we build that leverage to move ourselves in a greater collective power base and move ourselves out of becoming a permanent underclass. Now, this is based on a very structured system based off of a matriarchal system that's egalitarian in nature. And we understand that not every Black American is going to agree with that. Not every Black American is going to like the premise of that. And so this is just for those who resonate at that vibration of understanding the constellations and understanding the pre-colonial history of melanated people from the Americas and from Africa in terms of indigenous people that are melanated being matriarchal, and studying the intricacies of the dynamics between Black women and Black men, understanding the nobility class, the governance, the structures. And we are pretty much just implementing that in 2023 with an updated version, given the particular circumstances that the Black American is in today. That is it. Okay. So remember with part 1, we covered the intentions, the definition and the agenda of the enterprise architecture and the Queen Mothership. And we remember that we rooted it in our pre-colonial history. It's very important to understand that that's what the Queen Mothership is based on. If you need to know more history about that, there is a video on here that gives the history of the pre-colonial matriarchies in Africa. I was not able to get to the Americas yet. If you are indigenous to America, there are matriarchies, and the Queen Mothership did exist in Americas as well. And so we covered what the definition was, and we went through the enterprise architecture word by word from the blueprint from chapter 1. Then part 2 covered the governance. We talked about the 2 branches within the Queen Mothership, which is the Admiral branch and the Queen Mothership branch. And then within the Queen Mothership branch, we have councils. We have the Councils of Formidable Men, the Council of the Elders, the Council of Children, and the Council of Queen Mothers. And that makes up the governance. And we talked about how to elect that governance, the criteria to get in that governance. And if, you want to start up a chapter or a branch, what you would need to do as far as who can do that, how it looks like, etc. Part 3, we talked about the social fabric of the Queen Mothership. We delved into the culture and some of the things that we value, like technology, our vocational skills, our land acquisition, our education. We talked about those things, and that was the social fabric. Part 4 was the economics. We covered how we would have several models. One is a traditional model, which is a community trust fund, and that will be used to fund our initiatives on the business level, from our land acquisition to our community gardening, even to how we sustain the Queen Mothership intentional communities in terms of like the defense team and grants for businesses, for Black Americans, loans, education programs, vocational training, so that was what the community trust fund was for. And then we talked about the barter app economy, parallel infrastructure that we were developing, the barter app based using technology and QR points and a service point system, to where we would barter services for service, so that we can free up equity and we can continue to do some of the things we need to do, even if we were to get locked out completely out of the fiat currency system. Then we have part 5, which is defense. We talked about the defense of Black Americans in terms of our archery program, martial arts, and marksmanship. So we talked about all of that in part 5. So you want to go and check that out. And now we are on part 6. So part 6, we're going to cover chapters 7 through 8. And we're going to move a little quickly through these chapters because they require more so underground conversations, and they require Black Americans coming together, and really sifting through what this means, in terms of chapter 6 is power. So we're going to be talking about power and what that looks like. and power, and how do you get power? Like, what kind of things can you leverage to get power? And so I came up with some of the things that we can do in terms of technology to help us develop that power. And again, we have to realize, and I'm going to say this, and this is very cumbersome to say, but I've been assessing our community. I've been seeing the reaction from the community. I've been talking with the black men's, talking with the black women's. I've been talking with the youth, talking with the elders. I've been really studying our community, the state of consciousness. And I have to say, I really feel I'm way too early with my blueprints, my ideas. I'm a visionary. And I just feel like a lot of this stuff is going over people's heads, or they're scared. They're just scared. Or they just have a problem. The fact that it's just matriarchal, and that even though black men are included and black men are encouraged to be men, they're encouraged to express their masculinity. They're encouraged to help build this up. They're not being beat over the head or anything. They literally take issue with it being matriarchal. I'm noticing that black people are more and more denying the very easy history that they can just go and look up and research. And I understand not everybody's a scholar like me. I understand that, but it's like, what in the world is going on with people that would literally just deny someone's oral history, their genealogy, things that people are saying, things that are documented. Like, it's creepy. And so I'm just like, damn, people like this community and melanated people, especially Africans, it's like they really dislike black women. Like, they really dislike the idea of a melanated woman coming up with a blueprint, and coming up with structures and processes. And it's like, well, what do you guys want to do? Did you guys just want to sit at the bottom of a caste system for the rest of your lives and be in a time loop of the white man, white people? You guys don't want liberation based off of yourself and based on your own self-determination. You want white people to liberate you. You want white acceptance. And I'm starting to see that from black people more and more, and black men in particular, where it's like a recorded program time loop in their brain, where it's like they're not able to ricochet and take, it's like you're in a pool. This is how my dad explained it. It was a really brilliant concept. He was explaining it to me. He's like, they're like in the pool of water with the cover over the pool, and they're not able to break out of it. There's people in the pool with them who may have, a sharp object to rip through that plastic, and they want to keep taking their hands and just pulling at the plastic instead of taking the knife out of the woman's hand, because it's a woman, because they don't like them, and to just cut the plastic and get out. They'd rather just do it. This is what black men are doing. They'd rather just stick their hands up at the plastic, fumbling around in the pool, about to drown, with very little air pocket left, to try to save themselves or get out of their position, versus just, I have a knife, and like, let's use this knife, guys. And they're like, no, and that's easy solutions. It's like, people don't want to focus on the solutions because it will require the introspection to see how they are contributing to their own situation. It's as simple as that. And that is where this community wants the rest of the community to focus on the problem, and to stay in that problem, and to stay in that energy and that victim mentality, and to never look into ways into which, how did we get into this situation? I'm just really flabbergasted that nobody is studying how did black people, these same people that go around talking about how Africa was so great, and Africa had all these kingdoms, and Africa did this, and the Nsibiti tribe, and the Lumda kingdom, and the kingdoms of Mali, and all this, the kingdoms of the indigenous Americas. Like, you go talking about all this shit, and all of a sudden you are conquered for the next 700 to 1,000 years, 500 years, however you want to look at it. And no one thinks to say, well, how does that happen? How does that happen? Who did it? Who let them? Okay, white people, and they have the guns, and you guys want to sum it up to someone having gunpowder. But Africans were trading, and melanated people, if they're not, even if they're not African, they were trading as well. They were trading. They have invoices. Like do you not realize that you can go study these? They have various kingdoms and that are melanated, and that they have these invoices between the merchant class, between the nobility class of different trades. And you can look at those invoices from China to Africa, whatever they were trading, spices, goods, whatever. And you look at the seacoast and the marketplaces that they set up prior to colonialism. You can see that. So it's like, okay, if you guys want to say that they had these superior guns or whatever, you were trading people for muskets. You were trading, you certainly had the capabilities to trade for muskets as well. Just like the white man. Just like the Asian man. So there's something deeper that happened. And I keep trying to bring that up for the last 3 years. And black people, particularly black men, become very angry at me. I get dragged. They try to downplay my intelligence, and nobody debates me though. Like I literally said I will openly debate any scholar on this, any scholar or anybody that claims that they're self-taught, or anybody that is a pillar in the community that disagrees with melanated people having historical matriarchal societies, and looking at the intricacies of how kingdoms fell. How does that happen? How do the same melanated people that says that they went into Europe and conquered Europe and civilized Europe for 1,000 years, 800 years and shit with the Moors and these dark-skinned Moors and whatnot, and how does that happen? All of a sudden you civilized them. You said you taught them how to bathe, and you taught them how to heal themselves with herbs and how to build their infrastructures, and you taught them mystery sciences, alchemy and hermeticism and masonry and whatnot. You taught these white people these things, black men. You sex trafficked their women. Certainly you sex trafficked their women. You made mockery of their men at one point for 800 years. So what the fuck happened? And I'm telling you, this is a spiritual malediction. It has been revealed to me. Now, you guys may shoot the messenger. You guys can ignore the messenger. You guys can hate the messenger, ridicule the messenger, crucify the messenger. But you're not the one that you're refusing to just go back and study your own pre-colonial history. You're the one that's refusing to study the nobility classes of melanated people. Love talking about the bloodlines of the 13 families that run the world that are white. Okay, well, you should be looking at the nobility class of the melanated people to see what the fuck happened, the deals they made, the treaties they made. Who did they get in bed with? Who did they talk to? What did they sign oaths to? Who did they make pacts with? Who did they overthrow? Who got overthrown? What happened to the women? What happened to the sibyls? What happened to the shamans, the priestesses? What happened to the matriarchal black men that wanted to defend the old order? What happened to them? What happened to the priesthood and those who were priests? The royal priesthood was very important as well in all of this. The royal priesthood is part of my bloodline. My bloodline is from the royal priesthood. It's as simple as that. And that gives you your key. Because the sciences of the kings and the toys of the kings, the how do I say this? The toys that the kings played with and the queens played with was occult sciences. This was what they did for their playtime. Okay, and so the royal priesthood would train the nobility in the arts, and we would train them. And so you see, you have your greatest example that people were familiar with. I'll just give you an example that everyone would be familiar with, is like King Solomon. In the 72, the ring that he had that controlled the 72 demons and angels and all this stuff, and the Solomonic magic and the Enochian magic and all this stuff. These were the sciences of the kings of the royal class back in the day. Now, the beautiful thing is that everybody can have access to that information. There's still some information that's being hidden that certain bloodlines have have been given clearance to release. They're not under oath. They're not initiated, but they've been given clearance in this lifetime to release it. But to be honest, most humans just cannot fathom the truth. The humans are too programmed. They're brainwashed under MK Ultra subliminal mind control programming. So it's no point. And even if you do come out with it, you can say it, but nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to. They're gonna go with the opposite of whatever you say. So the powers that be have it that way, and it's designed that way. So if you do go out spewing the things that you may know about the universe, or the things that you may know about this system, it's designed to where the people that you're trying to help will crucify you. It's just absolutely designed that way. It's brilliant. It's brilliant programming on levels you've never seen before. It's like, whoa, what did they do here on this planet? But nonetheless, the King Solomon, and his knowledge of working with demonology and various mystery sciences, he absolutely. This is just one example. This is just one example of what I mean by a king making pacts, doing certain things to get certain things done, like with the Temple of Solomon and whatnot, and summoning things. So this was what melanated people were doing. So deep, guys. It's so deep. I don't even feel comfortable getting into it because it's too deep. And then it's like, yeah, y'all, the people that is on this channel that rock with me, at least you guys can understand that heavy duty stuff. You guys can understand that heavy duty stuff. But it's like, for those who are new that don't know anything at all about any of this, it's like, oh my gosh, what is she talking about? And it's been a heavy price to pay. It's been a heavy burden to bear, to be honest, like with the things that I know of how melanated people got in their situation. I talked in the video that's coming up, that I don't think I put it up yet. I'll be talking about how black men was tampering with homunculus in terms of trying to alter the genetics of black women's, as well as even alter the laws of electromagnetism. Things that they were doing, the priesthood, but it was males. And then he started to take some of these sciences and make them extremely secretive and kill the women who taught them, the women who initially came up with a lot of this information from the ether realms. They just killed those women off and killed the queen mothers off and ushered in a new system. These are things that the black community, or melanated people rather, are just completely in denial of. So instead of just like, okay, let's study what happened in the nobility class. What deals were made with Portuguese, with the Dutch, with the British, with these white people, within the nobility class. What did the merchant class do? What was the priesthood doing? I went back and studied this shit. We're talking about on the cusp of slavery. Not quite. You guys you go right straight to slavery. We're talking about on the cusp. And a couple centuries before slavery and colonization is key too, because you start to understand this, the switch over. As far as black men getting out of their matriarchies. They did not want to be in the matriarchies anymore in parts of West Africa, East Africa, and South Africa. It's just as simple as that. And so they went to war against the divine feminine. This is something that our community is so in denial of. And again, I'm just a messenger. All I can do is say this shit. And we can go through kingdom by kingdom and start to study. We can look through letters. We can look through some documentation. We can look at some of the social structures of their own oral histories. We can even some of the royal priesthoods, the descendants of the royal priesthoods over there that are now in secret societies that have to keep a lot of that under wraps. Like the Mamiwata priestess. They are very aware of what I'm saying in terms of like how there was a war against the divine feminine. Literal war, like even in Benin, even in the kingdom of Benin, melanated women and men went to war against one another. Physical combat. It is documented. And you guys are denying that. It's like, it's documented. The women won, actually. But that was just one kingdom where the women won. Because most of them, they did not win. The women got their ass smacked the fuck up. Straight up. Straight up. Obviously, men are have more muscle mass, and black men for millennia had always understood the power of black women, the divine feminine, was okay with it until they just got tired of it. You know, I'm not saying it was a perfect system. I know for a fact that there were some things that were being done to the men that was ridiculous. um Particularly like in certain tribes, like Igbo tribe was originally matriarchal. A lot of people don't know that. Even the men don't know. You talk to the Igbo people today and they will fight you if you tell them this. But then you have oral histories, and you have, you know, some of their scholars and elders confirming this. Their elders will confirm this. So, you know, that they were naturally matriarchal, and some of the things that they were doing to the men, you know, I was kind of like, damn. And you would think, like, you know, they talk about, like, you know, the rape in Nigeria now. Rape in Nigeria of about 300 years ago, and even prior to that, was extremely, extremely rare. Like, it's mind blowing how that continent is acting towards their women now. It's mind blowing, and it's just sad, you know. And you get here in Americas, and some of the Americas have kept a lot of some of the copper-colored indigenous tribes in America. I do have to say, some of them, those who are doing their genealogy and who are aware and focus on their familial bloodlines and blood ties, they are very much still in matriarchal societies. And they don't hide it. They'll admit it. The men will admit it. You know, and they're not necessarily concerned with collective initiatives, and that's fine. They're more so focused on their familial bloodline and their genealogy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they know, you know, I wouldn't say they know, but they are familiar with matriarchal upbringings and societies and structures. So I'm noticing that the men that are okay with what I'm talking about and who trickle in, you know, they come from those backgrounds. And even some of the tribes in Africa that are matrifocal, matrilineal, they're no longer matriarchal, but they still have matrifocal tendencies, and they have changed over the years. They are now, you know, opening up to what I'm saying. Now, the thing is, there are a lot of men that are literally going around the community lying, saying that what I'm saying is revisionist history, when I have the sources. Like, I literally have files and folders of this is stuff that I have studied. And just to see, like, when you ask them for sources, they'll have none. They'll have no sources, but then just say, oh my gosh, one of the comments was like, oh, everybody knows that Africa was always patriarchal, and that black people were always patriarchal. Well, where? What are you talking about? And just this fervence, this obsession with emulating white men's patriarchal system. They do want to emulate them. They don't have a history of that. And they want to convince the women that we do have that history. They want to convince women that Abrahamic religions was always a thing, and that women always wore burqa and shit like that. Like, this is insanity. And I'm like, it's been all close to 1,000 years. Like, what is your plan as men? What is your plan? What is the plan for the community? Do you have a plan for the community? Do you not care? Are you okay with the fact that we are actually, for Black American, we're actually going through a genocide and ethnocide? So what is your plan to prevent that? Like, seriously, what is your plan to prevent that as men? You know, do you not care? Everybody is so individualistic in this community. And so I'm like, it's cringy. It makes one very uncomfortable to be doing this work, and to see that, for one, the community seems to be fighting to stay at the bottom. They crucify their messengers and their prophets and their scholars. They ridicule anything that has to do with solution orientation. They sell out their people. They sell out their own. They sell out their revolutionaries. You know, so it's like, I'm like, and my dad told me this, we talk about this all the time. Like, these people are fucked up in the head. They're like psychologically enslaved on levels I've never seen before. I've never seen nothing like this in my life. And I could never understood, you know, like when I see like, you know, like some of the hardness, the frustration that, say, like a Sun Ra, you know, exuded, you know, towards the end of his life, or Betty Shabazz, or even, believe it or not, even Rosa Parks, you know, the disgust that they had with people, you know, like even some of these Black Panthers, you know, that are elders now. You see the way they be looking like, these niggas ain't about shit. And you see the frustration, you see the anger. These people put their lives on the line. People are set for surveillance and monitored for the rest of their life now. People are getting fucked with, psychologically fucked with, mentally fucked with. They have all types of things to try to discredit you. The biggest thing, if you can't lock you up, they say you're crazy. They go with the crazy mode. If the crazy one doesn't work, they go with some type of trumped up charges and try to lock you up. They fear what you know. This is the protocol for you, because some people cannot be killed by the government based on the protection that they have, based off of the deals that were made on their life, the pacts, the gematria. They can't get around the gematria, so they devise other plans to try to fuck a person up. I know this from experience. They will devise a plan to try to discredit you. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, we gotta find something to get your ass locked up. These people are obsessed with trying to find a way to lock motherfuckers up. I'm speaking from experience. And, just to see this community, I'm trying to not come off that way. I'm trying to have that compassion. I'm trying to not become so angry with the state of mind. Like, I don't know how to deal with that. It's like I'm learning and I got growth to do, and I'm 31 years old, so I'm really trying to hang in there. But it's like when I've never seen I just never seen a group of people. I can't explain it, but I understand. It's a shift in consciousness is what I'm trying to do here. It's not merely just, okay, let's just build an intentional community. This has to be structured out a very particular way, like an architecture, like a skill. You have to approach that as a science. You have to be systems-based approach. And you have to, and at every level, you're playing 5-dimensional chess with a government that is 24/7 brainwashing Black Americans, brainwashing people. They infiltrating your mind. And so I have to sit up here and think, okay, it's not just enough to build out a structure. You have to build out a whole deprogramming catalyst. You have to start it from the level of the women, because the women are going to give birth to the children, but then you have the men, and the women have been asking me. They say, "Kylie, come on, like these men are not going to help us build no Queen Mothership. Like, let's make this for women." And I'm seeing the men, literally try to deter us from building a Queen Mothership. Tell it like, well, you can't do that. And I'm just like, damn, what's your plan? What the fuck are you gonna do to help to get us out of this situation? They have no plan. They have nothing. Everybody is a content creator, not showing their face for 10 fucking years on the internet and all this shit, and convinced you guys that is liberation and leadership. Convinced you people that is Black leadership for empowerment. Telling you about what Biden and white people and reparations and all this shit. You guys feel like that's enough to feed your emotional embodiment of fucking panopticon prison enslavement that you're under. You're psychologically enslaved, and then you're in a panopticon prison that you can't feel, touch, or taste, or see. And to deal with that, you go to deal with that very reality. Instead of addressing it head on, instead of developing a solution for it head on and tackling that shit, even if it meant death, and that feels good to you people. And that's why I said, I'm like, I think I'm good. I think I'm good with like silos. And people will say we shouldn't go into silos. This is a vibration. This is a frequency war. This is a state of consciousness. It is. All of this, the universe is mental. So if you got a bunch of people that is fighting to stay at the bottom and they psychologically enslaved, and the first time you stick up and say, hey guys, let's go and build this, or let's go and do this together, them people are going to attack you. Why would you want to go and build with them? You can't. You have to build silos. You have to build with people that are like-minded and resonate with you. It's as simple as that. People can call it elitist all they want. Oh, that's elitist. Oh, you're trying to, oh, you're doing this. Oh, that's separation. Oh, what about our low life class? What about our degenerate class that didn't have, that's the low income class? Get the fuck out of here, man. We've been saying the same shit over and over again. Claude Anderson said the same shit. Neely Fuller has been, 40 years? And then nobody budge. So, no, I'm like, you got to develop silos of people that is like-minded. And it's as simple as that. Resonance only. Resonance. Effective kinship. Whereas fictive kinship, where it's not based on necessarily connected by blood, but you connected by other values that are deeper. That bonds, that tie. And it's as simple as that. Because you have to be at peace with the fact that not everybody's going to make it. You have to be at peace with that. And you have to find contentment in that. You have to know that. And I've been telling myself, I can't get frustrated at these people. I can't. It ain't my fight. I can't take a punishment. I can't take an ass whooping for these people. I can't take a punishment for these people. These people, where they at? These people are gone. And ain't nothing nobody can do about it. Nothing. And as long as they got that crutch of white supremacy to use as their weapon of why they won't get off their ass, or why they won't come together, and why they won't build out their own apparatus and parallel infrastructures, of why they won't start to reshape and mold their own consciousness and get out of their programming and break out of this matrix. It's not even about breaking out of this matrix. It's about molding your own reality through your consciousness and doing that on a collective level. That's pretty much it. And as long as they can use white people, long as they can go after that and feel that emotional and go after that time loop, that's a set of programming. That's a state of consciousness. And for a lot of us, we're kind of like, look, them people ain't doing nothing more than what you allow them. You teach people how to treat you, for one. You have to be in a position to make sure that they can't do those things to you. If somebody doing something to you, do it back. If somebody's fucking with you, you get away from them. You build out your own parallel infrastructures. You start to develop some apparatuses to where you cannot be affected by their system. It's very commonsensical things. But no, as long as you get to march around the block, march and rally, march around Selma, and scream with a picket sign in your hand with loud mouths, and it's black women and black men. Now, every time somebody gets shot, it's the same thing. You go out and march, and and they take their settlement and cash payment settlement from the state, and everybody goes about their business, and rinse, repeat. Yeah. So I'm wary, and I'm gonna say that so I'm gonna be upfront and say that the silos is what I am okay with creating. I'm okay with if it's just being certain Black Americans, and then the rest of this community, whatever happens, because the writing is on the wall. They've been trying to sound the alarm. Yes, the Black American is actively being genocided and ethnocided. Yes, the Black American is actively being buried. Yes, they are doing a reclassification experiment 2.0 with the Black American and the African. Yes, melanated people are still globally dominated by Europeans, and some of that of their own people is involved in it. The bloodlines matter. The bloodlines. This is why I keep trying to tell you guys to study your own pre-colonial history, and the nobility class in particular, and the priesthood class, the merchant class. I keep saying that for a fucking reason. To death heirs, but again, this is about keeping this is a spiritual malediction. I cannot explain this enough. There's a time loop, and when you see like these Black men going out of their way to try to hush me up or silence me, or try to, it's not true, instead of just going to study the history, there's something deep with that. I want other women to pay attention to that. Pay attention to why they are refusing to look at that, at the nobility class, the melanated nobility class, the royal priesthoods that are melanated, the social structures and the dynamics between black women and black men before they got into slavery and colonization. It's something really deep going on there, ladies. And I want you to really, and again, it's not all black men. If you are from under the covenant, if you are under the regime of the dark goddess, if you are under the regime, if you are a son of Ma'at, if you are under this, the different paradigm, if you're under a Queen Mothership paradigm naturally, or if this resonates with you, I am not talking about you, because this was not every black man that was involved in this spiritual malediction and this overthrow. It was not every black man. There were black men that got killed trying to uphold their covenant. It's as simple as that. You have plenty of, at the time of Sankaras, that was clearly the embodiment of what we would think of melanated man is supposed to be, who followed the structures and some of the things that I'm talking about. Not because it come from a woman, but because this man really understood some things that very few people get to understand. But women, you really want to see, like, why are they having such a knee-jerk reaction to just studying their own pre-colonial history? Whether they are from the Americas or whether they're from Africa, especially African men. Just look how they hurry up and try to hush it up. I'm telling you, it's some deep shit that went down, and they subconsciously know it. They don't logically know it or consciously know it, but I'm telling you, they freak out and panic like that about, oh, you're stupid, that ain't true, that's a lie, oh my gosh, we were patriarchal, oh my gosh, shut up, oh no. Instead of just, hey, well, why don't we just study it together? How about you just debate me? And you see how they go quiet, and I'm telling you, ladies, they subconsciously know they fucked up. This is a spiritual malediction. Melanated people being at the bottom like this for the last 700 years, 1,000 years, and nobody wants to study how it happened. It just, white man came on a boat, took us, put on the boat, and took us to America, and took enslaved us and colonized our land. Get the fuck out of here. 1.3 billion people, 10% of the world's population, just wakes up and yo ass civilized them for 800 years. Get the fuck out of here. Stop thinking somebody gonna believe some stupid ass shit like that. No, I want to know who let it happen. What the fuck was the men doing? What were they doing? The ladies, want your ass start to study it. And that's the reason why they really want me out the paint. Because it's like, we cannot have a bunch of black women knowing that information that girl know. Let alone the powers that be that feel a certain type of way of the shit that I done figured out. But it's like, they are freaking out. Because it's like, what if the average black woman just knows that shit? What if they just know? Then what? And there will be a day. I don't have to be the one to deliver the information. I don't have to be the one that get the credit. But it will be a day when the black woman wakes the fuck up. And the black man. And the black men who are under this covenant. The covenant with the primordial mothers. The covenant with Tiamat. The covenant with the dark goddess. These men, you know. If this hit in your soul, you will know. If it's not, then you are not of that covenant. You were the one that rebelled against it. You were the one that wanted to do away with it. You are the one that still wants to do away with it. It's a spiritual war still going on to this day. These men still got it out for the divine feminine. They have it out. Black women don't want to see it. And I said, well, this is a spiritual malediction. This is a time loop. There is a set order. There is laws in place, spiritual laws in place. And when things get violated, things happen. And so when you see this particular community going about the way it's going out, and melanated people looking the way they look globally, the continent looking the way that continent looks, Africa, and it's deep. It's deep, and you attach your fate based on to the energies you attach to. Black women, I'm learning that as well. So this is reflective on you as well. It's very serious stuff, and it's very serious. And I can't. It goes on deaf ears. And it will go on deaf ears, unfortunately. And they will continue to see their situation. Like Common said, when we lessen our women, our condition seems to worsen. And that song, Real People. It's real shit. He was talking about the men as men. You're saying it seems like every time we lessen our women, our condition seems to worsen. It's a spiritual malediction. Bounty on the heads. And this is deep shit. And we're talking about the war that was declared on the primordial mothers. And what they did as a result. It's deep shit. And we go and study. The royal priesthood has your answers, and your nobility class has your answers. This has to do with pacts, bloodlines, deals, the occult. This has to do with some real dark shit, melanated people. And so some of the prophets and sibyls and messengers, ascended masters, those who come, some of us are human flesh, but we are gods. Literally in human flesh, we have descended into an avatar. So we are a deity. And we have flesh, we bleed, obviously, but we are gods. And some things don't happen to us like we're like, well, why is this person able to do this or say that? Because, some of us blow our covers. The government knows who we are or whatever, but it's like, let them rock out because we got it set up anyways. We can operate from the 4th and 5th dimension. And we have this all set up in motion where the human race is cooked anyways in terms of their mental capacity and in terms of their programming and their what they think they know, how they know what they think they know. And so any of the ancient ones who decided to come back in the flesh, and it's many of us, and that transcends colors too. It's not just blacks. It's not just. It transcends colors, but so for the ancient ones who've come back, we got something in our hands that we ain't never seen before. We dealing with some shit, man. We bit off way more than we can chew, and I'm just kind of like, damn, that is where it's at. I know that was very deep. Very, very deep for us as Black Americans, and you guys are like, what is going on here? But I really have tried for the last 3 years to get this community to truly understand how much of a spiritual malediction this is, as far as the conditioning. But I'm not making any headway because there's this obsession with like this, getting white people to accept you, or getting white people to change how they treat you. White people are at fault for everything for this, and it's just like, and then no one's, no one's focused on the solution, because you have to reflect and introspect on how your actions and thought patterns are contributing to it. So, and then you're dealing with a lot of handlers. Like the Black community collectively has gatekeepers and handlers to keep you in line on what you think. And they very much want you to be obsessed emotionally and angry and low vibration. They want you fighting with each other. They want you hating with each other. So, y'all got it. Y'all got this shit. I'm like, I'm whoever hear me and understand me, and I know it's like, well, I really have been frustrated this week, so forgive me. Seriously, please forgive me for coming off so negative and frustrated, but there's no but. It's just, I want you to forgive me for one, and I want you guys to understand that for those of us who take on this path, it is incredibly, incredibly taxing. It is incredibly taxing on the soul to see the state of this community, the mental state, and to have to, you're literally fighting against a machine, a program that is like, it's so hard to fathom. And I do think, as far as Black women, as we develop and galvanize as for our Queen Mothership, that we be very particular of the Black men that we uplift, and that we consciously incentivize them. Don't beat these men up. And the Queen Mothership is not about men. We will not be going out to recruit men. But the ones who just happen to trickle on in, we can't project the things that we see in the broader, some of these other men. We can't project that onto them. And I'm going to be very clear about that because I have met some of these guys that and just even though and it's crazy because the ones I keep mentioning are the ones that's dead, but there are some that will walk in those footsteps of those men that I mentioned that are now dead, and very few, but those have to be the men that get the protection of the Queen Mothership and the upliftment and the incentivizations that come with that. But we are not into mammying and coddling no random ass men that's not doing nothing to get themselves out of the situation. The men that are telling me that there's no hope and that they've given up. No, absolutely not. That's crazy as hell. Yes, it's very taxing work, and we continue though with it. My daddy gave me a very powerful message a couple weeks ago. He knows what I'm going through, and he knows. And sometimes I think my dad is. Sometimes I think my dad is telepathic. I actually know some things about telepathy that I don't think I'm at liberty to speak on. Again, these are the things that you're just not supposed to do or know as humans. Humans should have been using telepathy to communicate. Should have been doing that shit. And you have lost your density. You've lost some of your frequency has lowered, so you're using your voice box and you're using language to communicate. That tells you that you have descended to an extent. You should be able to telepathically communicate. Black American. And if you do start to, just know that you are not crazy, and be very clear. Do not mention it to anybody. Okay, because if they find out and you talk about it on the phone, like how my ass did, you will get locked up, and they will make you take a fucking shot to close your pineal gland. Okay, you will be given some fucking medicines so you could be quote unquote normal again. So, if you are telepathic, a lot of Black Americans are going to develop telepathy skills. It is normal because we're moving from third, fourth, fifth dimension. Some of you are ascended into sixth, seventh dimensional consciousness. Some of you are going to be above that. So you're going to develop telepathy, and this is things that people that are under oaths know and they do all the time. But shit, I don't even know if I'm talking too much. You're not supposed to be able to do it. You're supposed to go. Well, it's out there now. You're not supposed to know it, but many of you are going to wake up one day and literally have that gift coming. And it's not just going to be melanated people. It's going to be Asian, Latino. You're just going to wake up one day and literally be like, you and your mom, you be sitting there, you and your mom and you and your dad. You're what the fuck is going on? What's going on? And you're going to be able to test one another to make sure that your ass not crazy. Hear me out. You're going to be able to test one another too and be like, and talking code. You better develop a code system. They're going to go after your ass. I'm telling you now, honey. I'm telling you now. Way too ahead of my time. And I just, sometimes it feels incredibly, incredibly lonely. Even if you have friends. I have friends that I can't, and it's just like, I can't relate to anybody around me. But yeah, that's life though. So let's cover this chapter 6. We're not going to read everything, but we're going to cover chapter 6, 7, and 8. We're going to be very quick. So we focused on power. So I'll just start right now. Chapter 6 is called Power. The Queen Mothership supports Black Americans in rebuilding their civilization with the goal of self-determination and global leadership. You cannot always think that the system will always be this way. We must start to look forward toward the future and prepare for the day when the pendulum swings back in our favor. We cannot sit idle and wait for others to build a society for us and run the infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, I mean running the technology, the nanotechnology, the medicine, the education, food, electricity, and water. We are fully capable of running civilization and must take steps towards self-governance. Okay, so how do we do that? I talked about how we would develop a type 1, type 3 civilization using the Kardashev scale. You know, the Kardashev scale is just a tool for assessing a technological advancement of a civilization. Okay, so you have type 1 is able to access all the energies available on the planet and store it for consumption. Type 2 can directly consume energy of a star. And type 2 civilization has access to advanced space travel technology. This is all dimensional, but again, I have to bring it down for, this is even the way we understand space and the globe, quote unquote globe, and physical 3D globe and outer space, but Earth is in space. So you're not actually, there is no distinction between Earth and outer space. You are cosmic. And it's dimensional. It's based on a frequency. So it's not, it's the density based on the frequency. It's not so much the, like this separation, this physical 3D Earth, and then there's outer space, then there's Saturn, then there's your separate and these are separate planets maybe we can go in a spaceship and travel to. You have to do that through a consciousness. You have to do that through frequency. And they have not been able to discover that. And that's also stuff you're not supposed to know. But we'll break that down a little later. So we have the Kardashev scale. And what I say is, well, how do we find those ways to build that type 1 and type 3 civilization? And so I list 3 ways in the book. I said, if we are not developing these technologies and working on them within the next 10 years, you're going to be severely left behind. And you're going to have to answer to other people if you do not work on these technologies. You're very capable of doing it. You're very intelligent. I have a book, I have a video called Black American Self-Determination and Rulership, Self-Rulership. That's go and listen to that. We talk about it in depth. It was a little obnoxious in that video, but spit out the, what do they say? Eat the meat, spit out the bone. It happens. So fusion power is one. So fusion power is a form of energy generation that holds immense potential for powering civilizations and putting them in a position of strength. It is the process of combining 2 nuclei into one, releasing incredible amounts of energy. This makes fusion power more efficient than conventional fuel sources. It also creates an environmentally friendly source of low carbon energy production with virtually no emissions or waste products. Several components must be fully designed and constructed to ensure maximum efficiency and safety in the building of a functional fusion reactor. The first component is the reactor, which consists of a vacuum chamber containing the plasma superheated gas particles and strong magnetic fields generated by powerful magnets called tokamaks. This helps keeps the plasma contained as it is heated up and manipulated to fuse atoms together. The second component is a fuel source, typically isotopes of hydrogen such as deuterium or tritium, which are injected into the reactor and heated to extreme temperatures that allow particles to combine and release energy. Finally, a strong cooling system must be implemented to cool down the reactor after each completed reaction cycle. This can be achieved through various means, including cryogenic liquids, liquid metals, or pump loops of water. Once all components have been built and tested, they must be integrated into a functioning generating system to produce electricity on demand. Fusion power offers many advantages over fossil fuels and other traditional energy sources. For example, it can provide a virtually limitless source energy that is both clean and sustainable with minimal environmental impact. It also provides an efficient form of power generation with no limits on scalability or capacity. Ultimately, fusion power has the potential to revolutionize the way we generate and consume energy, providing a secure and reliable source of power for future generations. Whoever can control fusion power will be in a position of power because they can provide power to many people reliably and consistently. So that's just one way. Black Americans, I know that was a lot, but again, we will add on to that. And Black Americans, the youth in particular, we'll be funding some of this research in the Queen Mothership. Fusion power. And That's one way, Black American. The next one is antimatter. Working with antimatter is the second way you develop a Type 1 civilization. In antimatter collisions, the entire rest mass of a particles is converted to radiant energy. Antimatter is a matter composed of particles with the same mass, ordinary matter, but with opposite charges. In essence, it is the exact opposite of regular matter. This means when antimatter comes into contact with regular matter, the two annihilate each other and release tremendous amounts of energy. For this reason, antimatter can be used to create powerful sources of energy and propulsion systems for vehicles such as spaceships. The potential uses for antimatter are practically limitless, from powering engines to providing clean energy for entire civilizations. The power of antimatter can easily place a civilization in a position of great strength and influence over its environment. In addition, since very little fuel is needed to produce immense amount of power, antimatter could provide a cost-effective alternative to traditional energy sources. Okay. So that is one. Let me make sure I'm not... Creating and storing antimatter is no simple task. A significant amount of resources and infrastructure must be implemented safely and reliably to produce the material. First, an environment where particles can collide at extremely high speeds must be created using particle accelerators. The resulting particles are then stored in ultra-cold chambers known as pinning traps for later use. Finally, these particles must be carefully monitored and controlled to be used without risking any sort of accident or contamination. Okay, so that is the one. And the next one is renewable energy. The third way the Black American can get into power position is renewable energy by converting sunlight into electricity, either by using solar cells and concentrating solar power, or indirectly through biofuel, wind, and hydroelectric power. Renewable energy is a form of power produced from natural sources that are constantly replenished, such as sunlight, wind, and water. Unlike fossil fuels, renewable energy does not deplete the Earth's natural resources, making it an attractive alternative for many countries. With the ability to generate an abundant amount of electricity with no emissions or fuel costs, renewable energy can put entire civilizations into a powerful position. Okay. Obviously, the first step is to identify potential locations with good access to natural resources and develop plans for harvesting them. You have wind turbines and solar panels. Those are two popular options for capturing renewable energy, okay? So that is verbatim out of the book. That's verbatim out of the blueprint. I'm going to skip around. So that is something that we can do, something that the Queen Mothership can fund. And we'll have some initiatives for the youth to fund these science projects and technology projects and whatever, even if it's a small scale. It may not be, like the massive antimatter particle machine, and, may not be like that, but you have to start somewhere, and we know that our kids are a genius, and we know they come up with things, and they're connected to the cosmos, and they'll be given the equations. You guys I know you guys have cut off from the spirituality or you into the Abrahamic stuff, but you can literally get the equations on how to do this stuff. So we have to teach our children, about the power of creativity, the power of their essence, their minds, the power of their beautiful minds, and they'll come up with these things. I would not be shocked if one of our youth came up with amazing inventions in any of these three fields. Okay, so chapter 7 was collaboration. Obviously, collaboration is critical, for success. So we talk about teams and leveraging the skills and insights of multiple people with different backgrounds to achieve something greater. Okay, and in this book, we just talk about how cooperation is better than competition, and we talked about collaboration and how a community goes hand in hand. So collaboration should promote the following: developing critical thinking skills, working together to create knowledge and meaning, reflecting on what was learned, learning that leads to transformation, going through simulations, building trust. Okay. And, ask the following questions before group meetings and collaboration. How will the group communicate? For example, is it through the discussions, emails, WhatsApp, whatever? When will the discussion start? How long do group members have to respond or to discussion board postings? What roles or duties will each person in the group perform? What are the possible roles? What is something that would be better in the group? Is the activity purposeful and tied to the community's goals? Make sure to communicate that explicitly from the start. Is the activity participatory? Encourage people to participate from the beginning to end. Fundamental conditions for collaboration. Agreement on core values. The ability of teams members to express themselves. Buy into the process. Beliefs that consistency is valuable. Listening skills. Enough time devoted to the discussion. Patience. Trust. Expressing views and concerns in a clear way. A facilitator skill to keeping the discussion on track. Boundary issues managed. Okay, so that's in the book as well. That's chapter 7. And then we get into the basics of project management. We talked about like, how you develop a charter, a project schedule, a Gantt chart, PERT diagrams. Okay. Your cost estimate, right? Your risk management, all of that in project management. We pretty much know that, but we'll be actually doing a lot of that when we start to build like out these intentional communities, at least mine. We'll start with mine, but anybody, again, you have the access to the blueprint. You can start your own chapter. You have to be competent though. And that is it. Oh, I thought we were going to cover chapter 8, but I want that to be a separate chapter. Okay, guys. So I'm going to make that a separate chapter. I do not want that to be, well, let's see. What's in this one. Let's see. We talked about the Common House Hub. So, I want this to be separate because when we talk about the voting process and conflict resolution, well, we'll cover conflict resolution now. So, conflict resolution is an essential part of any thriving community. To ensure that all members of the village are happy and respected, it's necessary to have a system in place for resolving any disagreements or disputes. The first step in resolving conflict is in identifying the issue at hand. Once you have determined what the problem is, it is vital to take a moment to discuss your feelings with those involved so that everyone can have the opportunity to express their side of things without interruptions or emotional outbursts. Allowing both parties a chance to communicate their perspectives will clarify why they feel the way they do and allow greater understanding between them. The next step is to set ground rules regarding the conversation. This could be anything from refraining from interrupting one another to speaking respectfully, or even taking a break if things become too heated. Establishing expectations ahead of time can help both parties stay focused and on track while addressing the issues at hand. Once all feelings have been expressed and ground rules agreed upon, it's time to move into problem-solving mode. Brainstorming solutions together is essential for finding common interests and compromises that work for everyone involved. Listening to each other's suggestions is critical here, and it helps identify potential solutions that may not have been thought of otherwise. After brainstorming possible solutions, decide which works best for everyone and commit to it. Finally, take the time to review what happened and reflect on how the conflict was resolved. This is essential because it can help identify potential areas of improvement and successes that can be built upon future conflicts. Okay, so that is it, guys, because I want to so that was out of chapter 8, but I wanted to cover that one because we are going to go into the actual village building, the intentional community aspect of it next for chapter 9. And I'm thinking, I wonder if we should jump around a bit. I'm going to do a little bit of jumping around the book. I think we're going to cover chapter 11 next, then go back to chapter 9, and then go back into chapter 10. Because some of this is a little superfluous in terms of the conventional construction of homes in a village. But I guess I want you guys to see, like, this is a very thorough, blueprint. And we're doing this video series because I don't think that, to be honest, they say you want to hide information, put it in the book. From, if you want to hide information from Black people, you put it in a book. And to be honest, that can be true to an extent. And then, if you're shadow banned, it's very hard for you to get your information out, so you have to take unconventional routes, so YouTube is that unconventional route for me to get this information out there. So that is it for today. I know this was a pretty heavy video. The energy was a little heavy. So, forgive me and, work with me. And I do love you. And we're continuing to just grow. I'm continuing to grow and work on my leadership skills, work on my interpersonal skills. I'm working on things. I'm competent in many ways, but I'm working on my patience. So we're working together and we're growing together. Everybody has their growth and their shadow work to do. And so we have to uplift one another and uplift each other. So let's always send that love and light to one another at all times for those who resonate. And yes, this is a silos, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Nobody gonna guilt trip me into trying to save a community. Okay, we are a silos. We are a small group of people that resonate on a certain vibration, and we want to do something together this time, and so that we can put ourselves in a better position. Okay, so I love you guys, and I will talk to you next time. Okay, let this stuff marinate. Let it marinate. I know it was a lot, but let it marinate, and I'm gonna talk to you later. Bye.